This 13th rendition of the EIASM workshop on top management teams and business strategy research is a special rendition in the sense that we are celebrating two birthdays. First, we are celebrating the 25th plus birthday of the attention-based view of the organization, which started with a paper by Willie Ocasio in 1997 in Strategic Management Journal. And the second birthday is the 40th birthday of the publication of Hambrick and Mason's famous paper on the Upper Echelons perspective in 1984. And in this workshop, we bring these two streams of research not only together again, but we also bring them in the new era, in the post-Chandlerian world, meaning the era of organizations and firms that form ecosystems, that are platforms where organizational boundaries are blurring, which have huge implications for both strategic leadership and organizational attention. So we are welcoming 100 plus researchers, distinguished researchers, also doctoral students and emerging scholars here in Passau. And on top of that, we have 6 particularly distinguished guests as our keynote speakers and panelists. The 2 keynote speakers are Don Hambrick, who is the founding father of the strategic leadership research. We have Professor Ocasio, who is a founding father of the organizational attention, the attention-based view of the organization. And then we have 4 panelists, namely Teresa Cho, we have Tomi Laamanen, Pinar Özgan, and Liz Altman. And together, the group of panelists and keynote speakers, as well as everyone here in Passau, represents the theme as well as the atmosphere, the ambience of our research, and we are very glad to be able to having them all here in sunny Passau.
My research is on workforce ecosystems, or has been recently on workforce ecosystems. And when you think about the world through the lens of workforce ecosystems, you also think about what are skills that managers and leaders might need to think about in a world of workforce ecosystems. I can give 3 examples. One is thinking more externally, because ecosystems are much more externally focused. The second is leadership skills, because as you're operating in an ecosystem environment, you're no longer just managing those people who work for you in a hierarchical system. You're also managing others who you have connections with. And then finally, of course, technologies, and specifically generative AI, both what leaders need to be doing themselves in terms of learning how to use generative AI in the most efficient, effective way, and how to manage AI in their organizations. And of course, including the risks and ethical considerations that brings up, but also, most importantly, how they can use it to help their organizations and move their organizations forward. And I would say that we had an amazing keynote this morning from Don Hambrick, and that these themes all echo topics that he was bringing up this morning as well.
Well, the Upper Echelons Theory is all about understanding the human biases that enter into strategic decision-making. And all executives sort of understand that these biases occur partly due to blind spots that they and their teams have, personality issues, strains within their senior leadership teams. And that's what Upper Echelons Theory is all about, is helping executives think those through carefully, sometimes remediate them or prevent them if they can, and engaging in more effective decision-making as a result. The validity of Upper Echelons Theory hinges upon how complex decision-making environments are. And of course today, top executives face many environmental occurrences outside their firms, and just loads and loads of stimuli, including very ambiguous stimuli, that make it so that their own biases enter in more than they did when my co-author and I developed the theory some 40 years ago.
So in 2019 we already met here in Passau, which was a great experience. So I'm really happy that we are now back and we can celebrate together the 40th anniversary of the main theory that sets our field. So it's great to be here in Passau again. I think what's really specific about this workshop is that it really is about brainstorming early stage work, so which makes it quite different from like the other types of conferences. And it really brings together like junior scholars who present their very first early drafts of proposals, but also with the seasoned scholars who can then provide feedback, and while we can get into a constructive discussion about these works.
So I'm really excited to be at this conference that the University of Passau is sponsoring, because it's dealing with one of the fundamental issues with the management, which is the changing nature of the corporation and the nature of competition. We're very different now in the world, which we're calling the Post-Chandlerian world, where it's much less hierarchical. There's much more working outside the open strategies with other corporations, networks, ecosystems, and it requires a very different form of leadership, where leadership is less about command and control, it's more about communication, inspiration, creating a sense of purpose, creating strong cultures in organizations. So I'm really excited to be here.
The post-Chandlerian world involves a lot more integrated, connected network of organizations rather than typically hierarchical, vertically integrated organizations. This means a lot more stakeholders, both on the outside and on the inside of the organization. And this has implications for strategy. The way that we do strategy includes internal and external actors, but it also involves transparency towards these internal and external actors. And what would this translate as? Well, it just means that CEOs, for instance, have to be more astute communicators. How do you talk about your strategy? How do you describe what it is that you do in an organization to your very significant stakeholders who are outside the organization?
Digital transformation platforms are transforming our world. Those leaders who don't pay attention to these transformations will find themselves out of business. The problem is that digital transformation, particularly around AI and open distributed peer innovation, are rocking the assumptions that senior teams have had in the past. This research conference here at the University of Passau is now focusing on the impact of senior teams and emotions on their strategic choices. And what we're finding is strategic choice is significantly affected by emotions, quite often in a negative way. So this research here at the university is super important as we deal with innovation over time.